Hi everybody, welcome to session 7. You've all been working so very hard. So a couple of things about the survey. First of all, thank you so much for completing the survey because then it gives us ideas on where we need to go from here. So a couple of things we want to address. Pacing. Many of you said the pacing is not quick enough, so the way we're going to solve that is tonight we're going to choose, or we're going to have volunteers, 5 people, to work on that other piece of work, the parameters, the beliefs, the vision. So you will be working on that tonight strictly, getting a good start on it. We'll see where we will go from there. The rest of you will be working on strategic intents. Your last task, your main task, your most important task is that to make sure that these strategic intents are smart, they're specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and timely. So that when the task forces get those goals, they can then put in place strategies and action plans to reach those goals. The way we will, we gave you some feedback, some food for thought on your strategic intents. That's what it is, food for thought. Take it. If it resonates with you, use it. If it doesn't resonate with you, then you can move on from there. Also, in your workbooks, pages 18 through 21, many samples of strategic intents. Also, Dan is gearing up some of these computers. There are 3 plans that we would like you to take a look at: Cincinnatus, Hannibal, and Horsehead. There are many others, but those are 3 that were easy to come across. So you can also look in there for examples of strategic intents. Your strategic intents are right up. Tweaking with the wording, maybe some people need to whittle it down to not so many strategic intents, but you're on a great roll. So let's get started right away on all of that. So any questions or comments about the pacing and the...
I do.
Okay, sure.
Could you just give us some, let's just maybe spend a little bit of time on different types of strategic intents, what they might look like other than survey.
Thank you. I'm glad you brought up the survey because that's what I wanted to say next. So some of the comments were that you felt like you were being sort of led to only use the surveys. Remember that those surveys are only one piece of the pie. You have your school data, so you might want to think of, if you're talking about special education, you might be looking at what's the graduation rate for your special education students and what kind of diplomas are they getting. The surveys, very, very important. Some comments about that they were community surveys, but remember these are students, staff, and community members, so lots of different views, so very important. The focus forum data, also very important. You've had many best practices, you've studied a lot of things under best practices, and then your critical issue summary. So that's all the data that you need to look at, not just the surveys. And your strategic intents don't only have to be measured by the surveys. Survey is the most quantitative way to measure things, but when you do create a strategic intent, you need to make sure it's measurable. For example, let's take Coca-Cola for example. One of their strategic intents was every customer in the world will have Coca-Cola at their fingertips. So that's specific, but it still has to be unpacked. And how are we going to do that? How are we going to reach the far regions of the earth? So let's think about school. A strategic intent for special ed might be, say the graduation rate is 75%. A strategic intent might be 90% of special education students will graduate with XYZ diploma. Might be a strategic intent. Another strategic intent might be for innovative practices. 100% of students, by the time they're in 8th grade, will experience a fully integrated curriculum. So it could be project-based learning, inquiry-based, but it would be something like that. So it needs to be specific enough to reach your mission, because your mission is that global statement. Then your strategic intents are how are we going to carry out that mission. Then from those strategic intents are, now what are their strategies and action plans to meet those strategic intents? Does that make sense? Okay, so the survey is not the only way to go. If you don't use the survey, and you can even add questions to that survey so that they make sense to your critical issues. And remember, those critical issues are really important. Your strategic intent should be the evidence for your strategic intents are those critical issues. Also, let's take what's your technology, right? Sarah?
Yeah, technology.
Okay, so let's take the technology group for a second. when you're thinking about technology, your question is, first of all, what's our mission? To put it kind of in a nutshell, you want to graduate kids career and college ready for the 21st century, sort of in a nutshell. So what does that mean for technology? So what is the ideal state of technology at the end of 5 years? That all students will be proficient in the latest presentation software or the latest spreadsheet software. So thinking about those things. How will technology in your district meet that bigger overall mission? And so, does that make sense? So make sure when you're thinking about it, if you are the dynamic academic culture, what does that mean? How does all of that falls under that meet that mission? How will those strategic intents meet your mission? How will they carry out your mission? Okay, for example, I kind of said it about the innovative practices. Okay, so you're thinking about those things. SMART, and does it help you reach that ideal state of your mission statement?
I have a clarifying question.
Sure.
Would it be appropriate in terms of using survey so right now X amount of students feel that they're not challenged, right? Maybe, I don't know what that number is.
Right.
Let's make believe it's 50.
Okay.
That is that a valid measurable goal to say that we want to at least be at 80 in X amount of years? And if that's okay, then is that a perception issue, or is it like, how is that a meaty goal if in fact we can do that?
Good question. So that task force, the Dynamic Academic Culture Task Force, actually had a strategic intent there about rigor and challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So that survey goal can be then sort of a backup to that. So it was 100% of curriculum instruction would be rigorous and challenging, something along those lines. And then you can back it up with, and 90% of students will say that is the case.
Okay.
So if 50% of the students are saying it, there are so many variables, of course. But if you have 50% of the students saying it now, and at the end of 5 years you have 90%, I don't think it's going to be a perception error. I think it's going to be a wow, we notice things are happening and we notice we have a better education. Talking to your students, they are advocates of their education. They're not, I don't believe that they took these surveys or were in the focus forums under, I don't really have much to say. They were very serious that they are advocates of their own education. So those surveys really are valid. And your staff, the same thing. They really want what's best. They want, innovation and change. And then as far as your community goes, you have so many different experiences and expertise out there that they also, that's who our customers are, the students, right? So we want to do what's for those. Did that answer your question?
Yes, but it opens the door to another one, and then it's my last
sure.
question. What would be another way then to measure that we've increased rigor for our students in that domain?
So I guess it might be something along the lines of assessing or evaluating your curriculum, or assessing or evaluating your teaching strategies. Maybe some kind of walkthrough checklist. You already have a system for evaluating teachers, but really making it that meaningful, because right now we all do it because that's what we're supposed to do, but really making it meaningful so that people grow and develop from it. So if one of the strategies is my teachers use technology, X percentage of the time in instruction, a walkthrough tool might be important for that, as well as the survey. So there are many ways to measure.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any questions or comments before we dig in? Let's make sure I got everything. Okay, so I don't want to take too many people off of one task force, so is there someone from each task force that would be willing to work on the parameters, vision, and beliefs? Or would you like to get into your groups and then decide from there?
I think that's a good idea, because when
Okay.
people are absent,
Okay, so
there could be a task
let's
force
do that.
that's really empty.
Two.
Let's do that. So neither one of you are doing it.
So I'm mute
if
this
we have
one.
3 or 4, that would be great.